Welcome back to the grind. In this video, we are going to break down how to play Captain Marvel movie. Now, Captain Marvel movie can be somewhat considered a ramp-up champion, but it really only takes one fight. The benefit is, on the second fight, you can enter binary ignition right away to unlock a lot of damage potential and end fights very quickly. Unfortunately, I only have a 4-star version that is not ranked up yet, but I did want to make this video on how to play her for those who just recently got her or are looking to improve their abilities. And in the future, when I have her ranked up or have a 5-star version, I'll make another video. Now, one of the benefits is Captain Marvel movie can apply armor breaks, and this can even be done through blocks. When she's in binary ignition, the chance of armor breaking increases a lot. So Captain Marvel movie relies on being in binary ignition as much as possible. So building up to that is important. Every blocked hit gives her 1 charge. You can also get additional charges by using Special 1, which grants 3 charges. The third special attack grants 10 charges, and also after completing the third special attack, you get a power gain buff that grants 40% of your total power. And finally, when you parry, you get 2 stacks of these charges. So depending on the situation, you can either build to a special 3 or just do lots of parries plus special 1s to build up these charges. Now, what you do with these charges is enter binary ignition, and there are a few ways to do this. If you dash back and hold block, you will enter binary ignition as long as you have more than 10 of these charges. Upon entering binary ignition, you will get fury buffs depending on how many charges you had when you entered binary ignition, with a max of 5. If you have the rogue synergy, you will get an unstoppable buff when you enter binary ignition. Binary ignition will also trigger if you have more than 10 stacks and get knocked down by the opponent, but the best way to trigger it is by building up to 25 stacks, because then you will get the max 5 fury buffs for as long as you maintain the binary charges. When entering binary ignition, you will also purify all debuffs on you, which can be very useful. While in binary ignition, you have a 60% chance to apply an armor break, and when you attack an opponent who has an armor break active, you'll deal an additional 30% energy damage. Her signature ability is not required for damage, but is very useful because when you enter binary ignition, you'll gain an indestructible buff for about 10 seconds, and then after it ends will go on cooldown for about 40 seconds. If you get hit by a special attack, you will lose this indestructible buff as well as half of your charges. And you need to enter binary ignition with at least 20 energy charges in order to get this indestructible buff. Unfortunately, I do not have an awakened version to show this with, but it can be very useful for managing either suicide masteries or bleed or poison nodes or damage that is dealt back to you when attacking the opponent, and even the Act 6 Icarus node, which Seaton shows a very good example of on his channel, so I would encourage you to go check that out. Once you enter binary ignition, you need to maintain the energy charges. The second special attack uses 4 of the charges, but it deals a lot of damage, as well as apply a 2-second stun at the end, allowing you to do heavy attacks. Each heavy attack grants 3 additional energy charges, which allows you to maintain this binary ignition state for the duration of the fight. So the goal is to do as many heavy attacks and special 2s as possible. If you counter a heavy attack with your heavy attack, you will also apply a stun, which will allow you to get even more heavy attacks off in the rotation. The energy charges decay at a rate of 1.2 per second, and if you have Nick Fury in the team, his synergy will allow them to decay slower at a rate of 2.2 per second. This is an extremely useful synergy to have because it allows you to maintain your energy charges much more easily throughout the entire fight. Another thing to point out is during binary ignition, the special attacks are unblockable, so you can use that as a way to get in on a couple attacks and get that stun if you are not able to intercept or parry. You can also gain energy charges every time you get hit by energy damage. So for every tick of Incinerate, I'm gaining a charge which helps you ramp up very fast at the start of a fight. You do want to be careful against mythic champions because when you gain a charge from them, you will also take damage. Now we're going to talk more again about the ramp-up nature of Captain Marvel movie. The first fight does take some time because you have to start from 0 energy charges and build up to binary ignition. the fastest way that I prefer to use is parrying several attacks and using the special 1 attack for those 3 extra charges when it's available. I do like to end up having close to at least special 2 when I enter binary ignition so that I can launch it right away. So now all I need to do is parry to enter binary ignition, and then I can go into my attacks and throw off the special 2 for some big damage as well as a stun, so I can start doing heavy attacks to keep my charges up. You want to throw in some medium and light attacks to get those armor breaks off, but you also want to continue throwing heavy attacks to keep those energy charges, and then throw off the special 2 when available. And if you've got a lot of armor breaks on, you'll do even more damage. Now for the fun part is going into another fight and seeing those persistent charges, which I have 20 carried over from the previous fight, which is how many energy charges I ended with. That allows me to start this fight with those amount of energy charges and power dependent on how many charges I carried over. This helps you build up to your binary ignition much quicker right at the start of the fight, as well as build up to a second special attack very quickly so that you can unload a bunch of damage right away at the start of the fight. And thankfully it's an unblockable attack, which allows you to get ins a little bit more easily and start loading off those heavy attacks. If you want to see how she matches up against Act's 6 fights, check out Seaton's channel or other gameplay on YouTube. But as an example, against this relatively equal power She-Hulk, the fight took over 1 minute to complete. But after carrying over the energy charges into this next fight, this roughly equal powered Ultron went down in all of 15 seconds with only 1 special 2 attack required. So I hope this video was helpful in understanding how to use Captain Marvel movie. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below, and I will see you in the next video.